Did you know that 7 Days to Die has a spin-off game and it's coming out on the 4th of November, which is 9 days from now? The reason I ask is because I, a 7 Days to Die YouTuber whose job it is to care about 7 Days to Die, didn't realize that people had even started playing it on YouTube recently. The original trailer for 7 Days Bloodmoons currently has 23,000 views, though the live-action trailer has 46,000 views. The official 7 Days Bloodmoons channel has 236 subscribers. It goes without saying then that clearly the Fun Pimps have spared every expense when it comes to advertising this game. That is sarcasm, by the way. So, what is 7 Days Bloodmoons? Because statistically, it seems like less than 2 weeks from release. Most of you don't know what it is, or you forgot about it, and I wouldn't blame you. Oh, and a quick interjection here. I am not in the Fun Pimps creator program, I do not have early access to the game, and I have no financial incentive to tell you one way or another how to feel about this game. And I can't show you the most up-to-date gameplay from the channels that are in the program, but you are on YouTube and you know how to use a search bar. What I can show you though is the trailers and some publicly released footage, which I'll have on screen throughout this video. So, according to Steam, 7 Days Bloodmoons is a 4v1 fight to the death. Survivors fortify bases and scavenge materials while the, quote, zombie master commands and possesses the horde to crush them. Play solo or with friends, up to 4 survivors can team up against a human or an AI zombie master who will prevail. There's also another thing you've probably already seen on screen, which is the controversial cel-shaded art style. But at its core, basically, 7 Days Bloodmoons is a PvP spin-off of 7 Days to Die, where a team of 4 players defend a location from zombie hordes and they can scavenge the surrounding area to get various resources to upgrade their characters and upgrade their base during the match, if you want to call it that. From what I've seen on the relatively few content creators making any content on it so far, it's basically more of a loot and shoot experience set in a much smaller environment than real 7 Days to Die, and from what I can tell there's no actual survival crafting going on. It's more of a case of running around the map collecting resources either from containers or mining them from the world, and then using that to build various pre-chosen blocks that you start the match with selected, if that makes sense. Like, you can select doors and blocks and spikes, and you have like a limited selection of what you can place down, and you build those with resources found in the world, and you fight a bunch of zombies for presumably increasingly difficult rounds. One of the players can of course control the zombie master, as it's called, which controls the various zombies that can spawn and where they spawn and which kinds, and you can precisely command the zombies as well. Like, you can basically play as them and they get like a boost. Rather than progression in-game, it does seem as though you unlock your perks and your weapons and your blocks on a per character basis, and you use the resources you collect from the matches to upgrade your weapons, your constructibles, and your perks. As of this moment, I do know that the game has a shop, but I don't know if it has any kind of like pay to win stuff because it's not enabled in the playtests that I've seen. Hopefully it's just cosmetics, but this kind of game has a lot of room or pay-to-win microtransactions. The best comparison I can actually give the progression from watching it is a bit like Dead by Daylight, with the upgrading your characters outside the matches and pre-selecting your perks and stuff. And there's a lot of comparisons that are going to be made to Dead by Daylight, given that they are both asymmetrical 4 versus 1 multiplayer games set in a small sandbox where you try to survive the one bad guy player. What I would assume from the gameplay is that if you like converting POIs and fighting hordes in 7 Days to Die, and if somehow you enjoy the gunplay and the melee combat, this game will probably be pretty good for you, because that is all this game is. It is that core survive the night with whatever you can find gameplay experience distilled into a very, very quick experience. There is one caveat to that though. From watching the gameplay, outside of playing as the zombie master, I see very little about this game that you can't just have a very similar experience with vanilla 7 Days to Die. And indeed, you could mod the shit out of 7 Days to Die to be far better than this, and you could already own that game, so you could just bring you and some friends, as many as you want, to do whatever you want in vanilla 7 Days to Die. And if you're someone who likes the open world exploration, or the dungeon crawling, or the progression, or the survival, or the crafting, or the vehicles or the actually building big horde bases, I don't see anything in this game that is for you. In fact, this would probably be a pretty good game for people outside of the 7 Days to Die audience. Like, I think they do have an interesting game here that may be genuinely hindered by the fact that it is 7 Days to Die, but I'm not optimistic that this game will ever really make it to the people who would like it, because I don't see the core audience of 7 Days to Die being particularly impressed by this game. Though hilariously, despite my status as the registered hater of 7 Days to Die Vanilla, this seems like a fairly enjoyable experience to me. Some things of note is that you get to play as the zombies, of course, which is mildly interesting, and that there are evidently weapons in this game that aren't in the real 7 Days to Die, which could be fun to try out. I wonder if they put those legendary tier 4 guns they spoke about that they were going to add to the game into this, and if we'll get to try them in here first. Now, this game is not actually being developed by the Fun Pimps, which is a complete catch-22 for them, because if they had made the game themselves, spending resources on a game nobody asked for, then they would get absolutely roasted for wasting development time that should be dedicated towards finishing that game that they've been doing for 12 years. If they do what they have done and contract out some absolute nobodies to make their spin-off game, nobody has any faith in it or cares about it, because it wasn't even made by the people who made the first game you actually liked. And I'm certainly a bit dismayed about it either way, because I've said this before, the Fun Pimps were paid to make 7 Days to Die, and most people who bought 7 Days to Die did so under the understanding that it was an early access game that was going to be finished in some time window, and that they were paying for the continual development of the game as well as access to it. I don't really see a way that using money you were given to make 7 Days to Die to make a game that nobody who plays 7 Days to Die asked for is an efficient use of the money you were given. Like, if you paid $30 for those fuck-ass cosmetics in the vanilla game, you were probably partially funding this game as much as the original, and that doesn't sit right with me. You may have thought you were supporting the development of 7 Days to Die, but actually you were supporting the development of this. Oh, and by the way, I only thought to check this near the end here, but I put the gameplay trailer into a few of those YouTube dislike viewing tools. I don't know how accurate they are. They do tell you that it is just an estimate, but I put it into a lot of them to see if that would help, and most of them did report back that it was roughly 66% disliked, which is pretty considerable. Usually if a video is lightly controversial, it will be 90% positive still. So to actually go over to 60% plus dislikes is kind of wild. And it does not bode well for the game. The poor views on their own trailers, the potentially overwhelming dislike ratio, if that is accurate, but the undisputably hugely negative comment sections on all the videos related to it, and the fact that like half the people I've spoken to forgot the game even existed and it comes out in 9 days, and these are some pretty like dedicated 7 Days to Die players that just forgot about the spin-off. And I've not seen many of the big 7 Days to Die creators really even mention or talk about it. I don't know what they intend to do when it comes out, but there's a lot of people in 7 Days to Die. I have to imagine they're all gonna try it, but if they were particularly excited about it, I feel like they would be making content about it already, because it is available on the Fun Pimps creator program. So I fear we're about to see a bloodbath, gamers. But what do you have to say? Is this the first you're even hearing of this game? Are you going to be buying it? Are you waiting to see someone else play it first? Do you want to see me play it? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed, consider hitting that like button and hitting the subscribe button for more 7 Days to Die content. And if you do want more 7 Days to Die content, click the video appearing on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.